Hello, everyone. Alexandra here. If you're just tuning in to the podcast for the very first time, welcome to Take a Chance on You. If you're a long-time listener, welcome back. We're into season 2, Leaders on Their Way and Aspiring. Season 1, we covered hidden talent, where I explored students and young people entering the workforce, going through their applications for apprenticeships, internships, they're volunteering, and they really relate their stories for the very first time. Season 2, with leaders, we have some fantastic guests joining me to discuss some of the challenges that they're facing, what it means to be a leader in 2025 and beyond. So I'm so excited to have you here. I think what's really unique and special about Take a Chance on You is it was born out of an idea that I had from networking here in London in 2024. I was talking to strangers. I'd meet them for the first time and we talk about the challenges we were facing together, lack of community, resources, and being able to have easy flowing conversations. And I always said to myself, if I was going to launch a podcast, it would be to reflect that and to continue those conversations. So Take a Chance on You is very special. As I say, we're into season 2. I'm so excited to have you here and I hope you enjoy the episodes to come.
Feeling lost in the noise of social media? Inspo cuts through the clutter, connecting you directly with real insights from real experts and industry leaders. It's a new social network dedicated to knowledge sharing, industry insights, and thought leadership. Get the latest from top minds in your field, or build your own thought leadership portfolio on Inspo. Already trusted by thousands of professionals worldwide, be part of the conversation and download Inspo Experts today on the App Store or visit www.inspo.expert.
Welcome back to the Take a Chance on You podcast, hosted by me, Alexandra Forsyth. Today, I am coming to you live from DTX Technology Conference here in London. It's day 2, and I am delighted to be passing the mic to Sabrina Berko, who is the head of content management here at DTX. Sabrina is responsible for creating the agenda, researching topics that will work well together, looking at the latest innovations, room for growth, and working with current events. Sabrina, how are you doing?
I'm doing amazing, thank you. I'm so happy to be here. It's been a fantastic couple of days so far. So happy to be here on the podcast.
It has. It's been a great couple of days. There's been a lot of energy in the room. Communication's been great, collaboration. But we've just come off the main stage. And did you want to talk a little bit about who we've had on?
We had the incredible Katie Prescott, who's the Times tech editor, talking all things AI innovations and where the big players kind of are investing, where the industry's going, debunking some fears around job security and education. And it was an incredible session. Yeah, I think everyone is pretty happy after that.
It was. The room was full. There were hardly any chairs in sight, and she really talked about AI innovation in a good way, but then also just areas for growth.
Yeah. With
companies. We're investing a lot, but we also wanted to see return on investment for what we're putting in terms of capital, etc. Because there's a lot of companies doing fantastic things, but sometimes taking a step back to reevaluate where we are. Thinking about DTX, I mean, as I say, you're the head of content here. It's a fantastic space that we're in. There's so many vendors. There's great talks. There's 9 stages in total altogether. Talk to me a little bit about DTX, because you've got a big passion for the event space.
Yes, I absolutely love the event. We reshifted this year from being digital transformation focused to business transformation focused. And the difference with that is that we focus very much on the intersectionality of people, process, and technology, rather than just the technology alone. So we have 9 stages across data and AI, cybersecurity, infrastructure, unified communications. And rather than just talking about the technology, we talk about the issues around the technology with implementation, change management, how to really get it to work with your organization and the different people within it, because at the end of the day, organizations are made up of very different people. And yeah, absolutely love this event. Our main stage has had some incredible big picture topics.
We've looked at inclusion. We've looked at, I mean, like I say, you're a big advocate of the neurodiverse space and some facilities here at DTX to accommodate for that.
Yes, definitely. It's one of the core pillars at the show. We're not here just to have people come and buy and sell technology. It's really a hub to learn, network, and meet interesting individuals, but also to have fun. I mean, events, that's the crux of it, right? You want to have a good time. You've taken time out of your days and work. So you want to come and learn and have fun, but it can sometimes get a bit overwhelming. So we need to make sure that we can cater for those different people. And we've got the retreat, which is, I absolutely love the retreat. I'd love one in my house. It's a little zone away from
I just walked past it. Yes, yeah.
It's incredible. I'll be in there later today. And it caters to different needs and kind of stims, because especially in tech, there's a high percentage of neurodiversity, and events can get really overwhelming. They're busy, they're loud, and it's nice to have a bit of space to decompress.
Yeah.
It has like different mood lightings and sensory toys and things like that, and it really can help decompress.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, yesterday, by the time I got home, I think just the lights, and it can be a bit overstimulating, just that element of coming to an event and conference. Having that space to step away, really important.
Yeah, you're talking to so many people, you're concentrating to talk, like there's a lot of cognitive overload. So it's a fantastic space. I'm delighted that we've also been able to invest in having captions on every stage this year.
I saw that,
which makes a massive difference. Also it's loud, and to be able to have that option, which then will give summaries after the event. So if you miss anything, it's great that we can cater to different needs.
Going back to before DTX, you've always had a love for talking to people.
Yeah, I've always been a social person. I studied psychology and ended up in events because of COVID. It was a bit of a random route. I didn't really know about this job as an industry, but I absolutely love it. I started off as a conference producer because I love to learn. I'm a massive nerd, so it was cool to find a job where I got to research for a living and write content. And then after a few months of that, I moved into the tech space nearly 5 years ago and not ever looked back. I love it. Yeah. So just being able, because obviously tech is always evolving so quickly, and cybersecurity is just fascinating and really where my kind of passion is and the crux of my enjoyment. So having this job where I get to speak to experts such as yourself every single day, I have to stay on top of it to be able to write the best content to help leaders learn, which sometimes is a bit bizarre. So I'm like, well, I'm just a young woman. And then I have this responsibility, but I absolutely love it. I wouldn't change it for the world. And then, just then when you have the actual event where you see it all come to fruition and you can meet everyone face to face, and just, it's incredible. I would highly recommend this job to young people out there who don't know what to do.
When you're talking to people, or when you do DTX again, just think about, what would I like? What are people saying about the technology? Where are they going?
Yeah, getting the live feedback is really important. We don't want to have the same things each year. You need to be able to keep up to date, and getting people's feedback in person is really invaluable. Because we do like to listen and keep up to date with it. But I spend so much time, speaking to speakers. We've got our advisory board who I have many hours of research calls with, and then just getting to meet them and just chatting about not work and getting to know their life and things like that. It is just lovely because we don't really get to do that too much. That's why events are really fun.
Maybe we'll leave it there. That's why events are really fun. That was actually my question. I mean, we're talking a lot about AI and quantum for next year. There'll be a lot of investment in cyber, I do believe, more investment in tech. Where do you see DTX going, and what's the vision?
That's a really interesting one. I think we do cover, obviously, data, AI, and cyber. And I think splitting that up will be having a separate data offering and AI offering, because they're very often clumped together. Obviously, data underpins AI. The space is changing, and I think that's looking at, in terms of with AI, people are talking about it now, but still often it's talking about ChatGPT. But seeing what actual innovations are coming out with that and within businesses and applications, because people are still on the fence or at the beginning stages and not really knowing what or how to use it. So, keep going on down that space and seeing what actually comes out. And there's, we have DTX Manchester, and there's so much innovation going on in the north.
There really is, yeah.
Yeah, and we're Manchester Tech Week, and we really get to showcase some of those innovations. So I'm excited to see what comes out with that. I think with cyber's in such a weird place right now. There's not much movement, I guess. I think everyone's a bit stagnant at the moment.
Like we're on the fence. I was talking to somebody about it yesterday, and we said exactly what you just mentioned. A lot's happening, but as you say, it feels that we're just a bit stagnant at the minute. I do hope 2026, there's a lot on the horizon. Conferences are still very much going in terms of cyber, so nothing's stopped, but possibly with AI, possibly with tech. But then if I think about the news right now, cyber's really been in the media.
And I think that's the thing with DTX being a more broad transformation event covering the different tech areas and functions, is that we can bring cyber to the forefront for non-cyber people who actually need to be in the know and educated about cyber. And I think within the cyber industry, that is the biggest frustration.
So important.
They're seen as a blocker. No one listens to them.
It's money. It's too much.
Yeah. And it's like, well, it's not an if, it's a when you get breached. And then it's, it can absolutely, as we've seen in the news.
Yeah.
And it's often human error because, we're not rational agents. Humans make mistakes. We all learn in different ways and we're different people, which is why a lot of these breaches are down to human error. And it's the non-cyber functions that need to understand the psychology of people to be able to then educate their people to prevent these errors. So I think we want to bring more awareness to everyone else about cyber and education, and again, focus on the people and the psychology of it and how you get those results. If you look at the theory of behavioral economics and how people learn, and we all learn differently. We have in tech, there's so much neurodiversity within organizations, massive organizations. There are people from different countries who English isn't their first language, or there's so many different demands if you're a caregiver and your focus is elsewhere, or, you're not neurotypical or not, you will respond to education and training differently. So businesses need to be aware of that and adapt their education and training to
the Myers-Briggs test, for example, which looks at introversion versus extroversion. They say the global population is 56.8% introverted. That's over half of the population. And as you say, training's got to be adapted to suit that. I mean, I gave an example yesterday to somebody. If you ask me to take a course online and just sit in front of videos for 4 hours, I'm not going to learn anything. Get me in person, talking to people, a round table, I will absorb that information like a sponge. And that's just me. So you can imagine if we ask everybody what their preferences are.
Yeah, I mean, I've got ADHD, which I was only diagnosed a year and a half ago, and it was through being within the tech industry and bonding with some speakers who were also neurodiverse, and they really supported me throughout the way. And the way that I learn is different. I mean, my attention span for auditory processing is different. And if you just give me a training course that's, a tick box or scrolling through some videos, I will zone out. And I think, especially with things like TikTok and things these days, attention spans are lower.
Non-existent.
Yeah, pretty much. And we forget like it's in one ear and out the other. And you need to take that seriously because, again, if you look at Tiger Land Rover and all these companies, they're offline, like they get crippled. So in my head, I find it baffling because in my head, it's like 1 + 1 = 2. You should be investing in this to prevent that. But I don't know why there's that misalignment with businesses and senior leaders and things like that. And when you come to a show like this, you do get them on stage and they are, I mean, other functions are having to think from a cyber perspective now, a CIO or a COO and things like that. They need to be aware of it. I think it is changing, but there's so much more work to be done.
There is, and training for young people in school and how actually we should bring back more exam-based in-person ways of training. And with AI, for example, not just relying on that to say write reports and then going into the workplace, helping you to complete some of your activities and tasks that you have to do, because then we become too dependent and we lose that spark, we lose that ability to think.
Yeah, definitely. You need to be able to keep the brain alive, like the brain's muscles. So if we get too lazy, God knows what it's going to do to the next generation of brain computing.
Absolutely.
But we were in a roundtable yesterday, and one of our advisory board, Nick Cree, who was the CDO at University of East London, when he was posed with the question of what's the implication of tools like ChatGPT on education and testing, I was like, well, what have we been doing for the last God knows how many years using the Viva? You need to bring back more in-person conversational testing
Yeah.
and be able to, yes, someone can still memorize some things, but you need to be able to see them face to face and test that. You just need to adjust how you assess, I guess.
I wonder whether it begs the question, maybe companies are a bit worried to do that. Maybe it's more time intensive if they just build their LLM with their data to get a certain output. Maybe it's quick wins. It reminds me that it's quick wins, it's short term, but actually we should be looking at longevity of a company. Where are you going in terms of the business? And then your employees align with that.
If we go for the quick wins, well, I mean, it'll be
It
interesting.
won't be
But
around.
yeah, we'll see what happens in a few years. I think there's so many parts to this whole AI revolution that is quite interesting to see what will happen that people are ignoring. I mean, even the environmental impact that no one's talking about, which I
Yeah.
think is such a funny little social fever dream, Black
It's-
Mirror situation. A couple of years ago, it was all over, in the event space and agendas and things like that. People were talking about sustainable IT.
Net zero.
And now it's gone because obviously it's so convenient to use things like ChatGPT. So, let's just ignore the fact that we're destroying the planet with it. I mean, even little things like prompts, don't say please and thank you because it's an extra token that, requires more computing power. You could educate people on that. Like there's so many things you could do, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see because I'm sure in a year or so, something will come out being like, oh, we need to be careful.
And it's the same as cyber. I mean, we talk about regulations cross jurisdictions, but it's hard because there are so many frameworks out there, and then it's more stress on the company to try and implement them. So yeah, it's a difficult one, all of these many topics, but it's to help the business thrive.
I think it'll be good, the Resilience Act coming out.
Yeah.
100%. And I guess that will help, not I guess, that will definitely help the cyber industry pick up
We've got it
again
coming up.
because organizations now no longer won't be able to ignore it. They'll have to be investing in cyber.
Well, they face penalties. It will come down to that. They will face penalties if they don't implement. So,
and it's crazy that you have to have that kind of thing like mandated for people to take it seriously, but at least that will happen. I think what is nice within the cyber industry is that there is very much a community of wanting to help one another.
Yeah.
Because obviously it's not like other businesses, they'll be in competition because it's profit. Whereas in most cases, one company having a breach wouldn't necessarily positively impact, another cyber person. So there is that people do want to help each other and give advice.
Yeah.
I think also the mental health implications for cyber teams and CISOs and stuff is so severe that you want to help other people. So hopefully there'll just be more of that and kind of the community will just get even stronger.
I think it will. There was an article that recently came out a couple of days ago talking about mental health in cyber. And as you say, it's rife. Burnout is, I mean, I've suffered burnout 3 times in 4.5 years.
4.5 years ago, I think the first ever cyber event agenda I wrote, because coming from a psychology background, very quickly could identify the mental health part of cyber. And I remember I wrote a session, it was like, what was it called? It was CISOs don't wear capes, then like they're not superheroes, or they need superheroes too, or something like that. And
I love that.
Yeah, it was like everyone, will look at a CISO and assume that they're the superhero, which they 100% are, but they're not invincible. And I remember at the time, there was a bit of pushback of me putting this session in because it was like, well, we've not heard this too much. Is it commercial? And I was like, well, no, like we need to. I think
that's the
it
point.
would be really well attended, and it's a really important message that we need to just because it's, you've not seen it everywhere, even more reason to put it in. And it was the most well attended session. The feedback was incredible. They said that they'd never seen content like that before. And it's so nice 4.5 years later that conversation happens all the time, everywhere. Like finally, I think there's a lot more appreciation, and because of, I guess, all the news articles and things like that.
Yeah.
So I think the mental health topic has come along and there is this appreciation, and CISOs are open and honest and, supportive of teams. Doesn't mean obviously it's perfect.
No.
But I'm glad that is more widely spoken about, but it's still so stressful. There's such severe implications. It's insane.
I had somebody recently on the podcast talking about vulnerability, but he works in skincare, so it's an entirely different industry. But I tend to have guests on from all industries because I think we suffer with the same challenges, or we go through the same challenges. And I titled the name of the podcast episode, "It's cool to be vulnerable and it's cool to talk about mental health." I think we need to, again, take a step back and just evaluate where we're at. We're in 2025, going into 2026. We need to talk about it more and we need to open up. And like I said, cybersecurity is a very serious topic. To open up to each other more, and you'd be surprised at the outcome.
Yeah, and I think more work needs to be done. It's not just talking about it, but like, how do we prevent it?
Action.
What are organizations doing to actually, have preventative measures and to look after their employees? That's topics that we had last year in London on practical measures. And we had the keynote stage yesterday, the inclusion panel.
I loved them. I had two of the ladies come on, Emily and Tree.
Hill, yeah, incredible.
Very fantastic. But late diagnosis. And when you said about ADHD, you were diagnosed a year and a half ago. I think for Emily, it's been 18 months, I believe she said. And for Tree, she was diagnosed at 47.
Well, I think
it's been 3 years for her.
With things like ADHD, I think that people just assume it's that typical hyperactive, crazy behavior, which is actually associated with more of the male presentation of ADHD. Whereas with women, we learn to mask. It's much more internal. Our brains will be a mess, but on the outside, we'll seem cool, calm, collected, like we've got our stuff together, and actually we're struggling on the inside.
It's chaotic.
Absolutely chaotic.
To be a woman. It is. It is.
And so I think for a lot of women, it's a later stage diagnosis, and then you've got this whole weird period of kind of grieving or kind of understanding yourself, because you're like, oh, I've spent my whole life just struggling.
Yeah.
When actually there was a explanation all along. And then I think within that then impacts you at work, because you then start medication, which will affect you. I remember when I started my medication, it made me feel so sick and I couldn't, function properly and things like that. And you then need your work to be supportive of that adjustment period, unless you have a good manager who will understand that. And, luckily my manager's incredible. Shout out to Dominique.
Shout out. She'll be listening.
Yeah. When I would feel sick and I'd be like, please, can I work from home? I don't feel right because, I've just upped my meds. It was no problem at all. And being able to have that and not being forced into the office and blowing up was very, very grateful of that. But a lot of cultures wouldn't allow that.
But no, it is definitely about having that support system, because it makes you work better. And it makes you enjoy your job. And I try and get this across in cyber as well. We're talking about something really serious. We're working in team. We want you to enjoy it. We want you to have fun and come in. You might not like every day because some tasks are really manual and it is stressful. But at the same time, you have to work 5 days a week. It's a lot of hours, more time than you spend outside of work. So you've got to do something you're passionate about.
Yeah, definitely. You need to. I think cyber, there's so much.
I love them.
So it's just
I'm a
so
lifer.
cool. It's so cool. I wish when I was younger I would have known more about it, and I did a bit of coding after uni and COVID, but
Me too.
I didn't really know anything about it. It was growing up, it wasn't really a career that was spoken about, but I 100% would have. I've looked into, maybe switching, but I do love the research event side of things. But yeah, I think there needs to be way more education around it.
I mean, to be honest, Sabrina, researching speakers, putting the agenda together and then hosting the event, you're learning light years ahead of all of us because you get just such a broad range of topics.
Yeah, no, it is cool. Sometimes
it's
I don't
fantastic.
Realize I'm like, we'll be in sessions and people like, that was insightful, and I'm like, well, I forget that not everyone gets access to that learning. So I'm very privileged for that. Can be quite terrifying sometimes, but it is.
Sabrina said she's going to be on the main stage at the next DTX and she's going to be giving her own talk.
Not quite there. We'll stick to the podcast for now.
It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the podcast today. Like I said, it's day 2. It's DTX Technology Conference. If you can get down here at their next event, it would be great. And I will speak to you all very, very soon. Bye.
Thank you.